Hey guys, welcome to my beginner Python tutorials. I'm going to try to keep the videos between 5 and 15 minutes because I want to get straight to the point, explain what it is exactly that you can expect from the topic that I'm going over, and then just go kind of experiment on your own. I don't want to get too crazy with like underlying mechanics of how it may or may not work, just because that could be a little too in depth for just kind of getting into programming initially. And I think if you can just kind of know what things do versus why things are, it'll be much more functional as you start. When you are a little bit more experienced with it, then you can start going into the whys, and then it'll really like push your understanding of the language further. This video is about string formatting. There's three ways that you can format a string based off some variables. So I have the three listed here. The first one, you are replacing this symbol here with the variable. The second one, you are replacing where the brackets are and doing a dot format. And the third one, you're marking an F in front of the string, and you're putting the string inside of the brackets. All of them will look the same after the string has been printed. The only difference is how it looks when you're coding it, and there's a few nuances to it. On the first one, I'll show you that, but let me print these out so you can see that they're all gonna print the same. I have this one printing something different just because, but yeah, so, oops, wrong. Okay. So there we go. You can't tell the difference, but there's a big difference in all of these. So this one's doing a replacement, this one's doing a replacement, but on where it's at, and format is actually using a format method, so it's doing a call to replace. As of 3.6, I believe, this F string has been unavailable, so it's actually relatively new. I personally only use F strings because it's much easier to see, and I'm going to show you that later, how this can get out of hand if you are not using F strings. But before I continue on, I want to show you one of those weird kind of nuances to the first one. If I put a percent sign right here, because I want to print like whatever the number is, and that's the percent, it doesn't like that because it's using percent as part of the replacement. So if I want to actually do a percent sign, I have to replace the percent sign here. So now when I print this, it's going to be correct. And also note that this is a tuple. So these parentheses here are needed if you're using more than one, so it could replace them, and it will do that in order. Same with the format. If you have a whole bunch of them, it's going to do them in order. So, oops, wrong one again. So now we have it printed correctly. If let me just show you what happens if I get rid of it. The text editor is kind of barking at me, but we'll just do it anyway. So incomplete format. So from what I can tell so far, format, method, and F-string don't really have any issues like that. So moving on, there's not much else to talk about other than kind of giving you an idea of which one you maybe want to use. Let me comment these out. So moving forward, I'm just going to do the format method in the F-string. As you can see, I'm printing out like a long string, and I have 4 variables in here. When I do dot format, it's all at the end and in order. So you at least know what you're doing. But a lot of cases, you're not going to be printing it from this same thing. You're printing a whole bunch of different stuff or whatever you need, and trying to look over to the left and then look over to the right to see what's actually going to be there is a little bit confusing. So F-string gets rid of that problem by actually putting it in here. So we know like pretty much the exact way it's going to look because the string is already in the order that it's, or position it's supposed to be, just minus whatever this value happens to be at that time. So when I print this, like as before, they're going to be identical. I prefer the F string though. moving on to string formatting, I just want to kind of talk real quick about iterations and stuff like that. Um, so when you're going to be printing a string, you probably won't need it a lot of the time because whatever the code is doing, you don't really care. But let's say you want the code to give you updates on where it's at. String formatting would be something you would probably want to do, and it would just, say, hey, we're this much complete or something like that. So this loop right here just kind of shows how that would be. Like every time it iterates, I'm using an F string and I'm just putting the number in here. So it's going to print the number every time. So keep that in mind. The last thing I want to talk about is you can do some pretty crazy stuff with these. So what I have here is just a string of 3 A's and spaces in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm calling some methods that are going to do some type of operation on the string. So when I call .lower, it's going to make anything lowercase that is capital. When I call split, it's going to, by default, split on the white spaces and put this into a list. So wherever there's a white space, there now is going to be split, and those are going to be in the list. So this list is going to contain 3 elements. Let me just print it. So and then I'm selecting the first or the 0th index, which will be this first one right here. So in both of these, I'm doing the same exact thing. I just want to show like how they both can handle this. And as you can see, I don't have any text here. It's the only thing here is the variable. So that's perfectly fine if you wanted to do something like that. As you can see though, this one still looks much better. So let me print this out so you can see it. So I print the 3 A's and then it does the operations. There's a lot more out there that you could use to make your strings be whatever you need them to be. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. It'll let me know whether I should be making more of this stuff or not. Also in the description, I'll have some links to things like my Twitch channel where I program live, as well as do network security stuff, pen testing, things like that. My notify.me, and any information related to like the operating system I use, text editor, and all that good stuff. Take it easy.